Hi folks, the Filipina here, and we're long overdue for an episode of Candlelight Culture, where we talk about all the weird and wonderful customs of the Philippines, and how different they can be from where you live. Now these videos are really good for people who plan to travel here and want to know what to expect, and for guys with Filipino girlfriends who won't understand why we act so weird. So let me see if I can provide some answers. Today we're gonna explain why our food can be hazardous to your mouth, why Filipinas don't give feedback in the bedroom, and how we might actually charge you to use the toilet. One price for liquid, double the price for solid. And no, I'm not kidding. So the first time I did one of these videos, I only had a couple hours left to film. And the power went out, which as you know is pretty common around here in the Philippines. And I was kind of backed into a corner time-wise. So I figured, what the heck? I just grabbed some candles and film it anyway. I ended up with a lot of wax on my rug, and you guys kept warning me that I was probably gonna set fire to my apartment. But for some reason, people really liked the format, so I made it a regular segment. And here we are. And by the way, just for you worrywarts, I don't even use matches anymore because these candles are the kind that use batteries. No wax, no fire. So anyway, let's start with something a lot of you guys have noticed when you try to ask your Filipina a question, and you can't seem to get a straight answer. Filipinos tend to be very vague, and we often do one of two things. Either we give you one-word answers, or we go into long explanations that have nothing to do with what you have asked. I've been told it can be very difficult to get any usable information out of us at all. And there's one thing in particular that causes extra confusion. Never ask us a question in the form of a negative. If you say something like, "You've never seen this movie before, right?" And she says no, it means no, she has seen it. If she answers yes, it means you're correct. She has not, which is the opposite from the way you guys do it. So be prepared for lots of frustration and funny conversations with your Filipino partner. And many of you guys have noticed something else that seems a little odd. Whenever you ask our opinion about something, we always start with the words, "for me." And you're thinking, of course it's for you. Who else's opinion would you be asking about? Well, the reason we do that is to make sure you understand we're only speaking on behalf of ourselves and that we would never presume to draw conclusions for anyone else. We're taught that it's rude to act like our ideas are important. So it's kind of like our version of starting a sentence with, "in my humble opinion." And that kind of thinking extends to the bedroom too. It probably won't surprise you to learn that I get a lot of questions about what Filipinos are like when the sun goes down. And guys want to know if we're active participants or just passengers on your love train. You wonder if maybe we become tigers between the sheets, shouting instructions like a drill sergeant. But I'm afraid you're gonna be the only one doing any drilling, because for the most part, Filipinos tend to be pretty passive in the lovemaking department. We assume you know what you're doing, so we just go silent and assume the starfish position.
Empty it of all thoughts until you're doing absolutely nothing.
And as far as giving you feedback along the way, you can pretty much forget about it. We're not very good backseat drivers. Most of us are happy to leave the driving to you. Now, I'm sure I'm gonna get a bunch of comments about how wrong I am and how your Filipina isn't anything like that. And of course, it's true that you can't possibly describe 50 million women the same way. But the fact is, most of us don't start out as rock stars in the bedroom. We become that way later on, once we're comfortable being with you. And most of you are glad we're not very experienced. If that's what you wanted, you could have found that back home. And speaking of being a little shy, have you ever noticed that whenever I'm filming a Filipina and there's a pillow nearby, they're always gonna grab it and put it on their laps, even right in the middle of an interview? What's up with that? Well, we use the pillow to defend ourselves when we're uncomfortable or when we feel like we need to hide. We do it without even thinking about it, and it's kind of like a tell in poker. So if you ever start asking your girlfriend questions and she stuffs a pillow on her lap, it means you're getting closer to some juicy information she doesn't want to give up. Okay, now for some random fun facts about us Filipinos. If you've never been here, this might surprise you. But if you've spent any time here at all, it's something you'll never forget. Did you know that we can carry on a normal conversation while surrounded by a pack of barking dogs? And if you ask us how we can hear each other, we'll swear we never noticed any dogs. We have a built-in noise cancellation feature that completely removes any random sound no matter how loud it is, including drunken family members singing karaoke. It's really an amazing ability, but it also allows us to filter you out if you don't like the questions you're asking. Now, the only thing we like as much as karaoke is basketball. So you might think we like tossing things back and forth, but the opposite is true. If you ask a friend to toss you the car keys, they'll probably just walk over and hand them to you instead. That's because it's considered impolite to throw things at people, even if they ask you to, because you might accidentally miss, and hitting someone is very disrespectful. So if you're meeting her parents and if her dad wants to borrow your lighter, don't throw it to him. He won't be expecting that, and it won't go over well. And here's something you'll definitely notice if you go online and deal with anyone who's selling something. Everything you see is just 1 peso. Wanna buy a used car? You'll find thousands of them for just 1 peso. Wanna buy a house? Same thing, 1 peso. Now, this is obviously not the real price, so how can they get away with that? Isn't it false advertising? In the West, you have consumer protection laws that make it a crime to purposely advertise the wrong price. But the Philippines is more like the Wild West, where the rule of the day is buyer beware. So why does everyone list their stuff for a peso when it obviously costs more than that? Don't they want people to know the actual price? Well, there's two main reasons, and both of them should be illegal. First of all, everyone knows that Filipinos look for the cheapest deals. So the sellers want their ad to appear on the top when someone searches from lowest price to the highest. The second reason is really devious. It's so the seller can try to read the person who's interested in their product and raise the price if they think they can get away with it. They want you to contact them to find out how much the thing costs. And depending on what you ask and how you asked it, the seller might try to make a little extra money off you. I know it's pretty crappy, but that's the way it is here. People will do almost anything to save a peso, including making fake coffee. For really poor Filipinos who can't afford a cup of coffee, there's a cheaper alternative. And I'm embarrassed to say that there was a time when my family did the same thing. We made a coffee substitute out of burnt rice. You take a handful of rice, put it in a pan to blacken it, then add hot water and let it become infused with the flavor of the burnt rice. Then you strain out the rice, which we put in our plants as fertilizer. And voila! Now you have a cup of poor man's coffee. It tastes kind of bitter, but when that's all you got, that's all you got. We Filipinos are pros at taking bland food and making it taste like something, which is why we bathe everything in hot sauce or dump a bunch of salt on it. And if you come to the Philippines and try our local food, let me warn you about something in advance. Hidden in plain sight in almost everything you order, there's gonna be stuff on your plate you wanna avoid. Little chili peppers that melt the skin off the roof of your mouth. Whole garlic cloves that look like innocent little potatoes until you bite into them. And chunks of ginger that'll make your body feel like it's on fire. We add those things for flavor, but we don't take them back out. So until you become an expert at spotting that stuff, ask your Filipina to go through the food on your plate like a minesweeper and remove all the culinary explosives before they go off in your mouth. But no matter how hard you try to avoid it, you're eventually gonna eat something that sends you running to the nearest bathroom. And if you're out in public, don't be surprised if there's actually a charge for whatever you discharge. Call it a pay-as-you-go plan. But some places actually have a fee to go pee. Now, maybe that doesn't seem all that strange by itself, but check this out. Some Filipino bathrooms have a sign with different prices for number 1 and number 2. Urination only costs a few pesos, but pooping can cost a lot more. And the most embarrassing part is that you have to pay an attendant for what you want to do in there before you can do your business. And to add insult to injury, there's often no toilet paper. But I wonder how they know if you're telling the truth. What if you pull a fast one and only pay for a tinkle when you actually drop a bomb? Unless they weigh you before and after, how could they possibly know? I guess they just use the honor system. But I bet there's a lot of cheaters in there. Now, aren't you glad you watched my videos for all this great information? Because you're probably not gonna hear it anywhere else. Well, that's it for today's episode, and I'll be back next week with an interview of one of my fellow vloggers who's developed an app that might just save you precious time when you're looking for a place to stay. Until then, if you want to hang out with me in real time, check out my Patreon page where I can help you plan your trip and even give you advice about your Filipina girlfriend. You'll also be able to see my exclusive videos and features that are only available to members, and you'll meet a lot of other people in the chat rooms who are looking for the same thing you are: information about the Philippines and how to live your best life. Till then, folks. If you think about it, I'm kind of like your waitress, bringing hot, fresh content to the table and serving it to you every week. The only thing I ask for my hard work is that you leave a small tip in the form of a thumbs up on this video, a subscription to my channel, hitting the notification bell so you know when your next meal has been served, and asking you to share this video with friends. I promise, it'll only take 10 seconds to do, and your tip will make my day. You don't want to stiff your waitress, do ya? And for dessert, please enjoy my other videos too. See you real soon!